Today's special feature webinar on creating and managing events will show you how to create an event, the specific fields, and how to manage your event after creation. Before we dive into the specifics of an event, we want to go over what exactly an event is. So an event is a real-time situation where CBRNResponder users can track and monitor their data in real time. All data that is entered into CBRNResponder must be associated with an event, so there cannot be any rogue data around in CBRNResponder. And there are specific roles and permissions for who can create an event, but those with the data collector and data viewer roles are able to collect data. So if you're not sure if you can create an event or not, there is a quick way for you to check. You want to take a look at your roles, and to do this, you are going to locate, once you're logged in, the profile in the top right corner. So you should see your name and a drop down, and you'll select profile. On your profile page, you can scroll down to organization memberships, and here you will see all of your organization roles. So the specific one, which I'll get into on the next slide, is the event creator role. So in order to create and manage your organization's events, you must at least have the event creator role. If you do have that role, you will then automatically be given the event manager and team manager event level roles. So when an event is created, you won't need to go in and update any roles. You'll automatically have those. Additionally, if you do have the administrator or planner role, you will be able to create an event as well. You'll be given those default event roles to create and manage, but we do recommend having some people with the event creator role as their designated task. There are a few different ways that you can create an event. First is from the hazard-specific homepage dashboards. So if I'm on the RadResponder site, I'll see the green events tile, and I can use the create button. I can also, on the CBRNResponder website or the hazard-specific sites, use the event header drop-down arrow, and there I'll see the create an event option as well. And our third way, and our newest way, is from the CBRNResponder mobile application. You should see, again, if you have that role under select event, you should see create new event. And this is something that is specific to the CBRNResponder mobile application. So if you're still using the RadResponder or ChemResponder specific apps, you won't be able to do this. So that's why we recommend transitioning to the CBRNResponder app if you have not already. Now that we know some of those basics for creating an event, it comes to actually creating the event with the different fields. So from the website, you can go through either the events tile in the dashboard or from that drop-down header, and you will be brought to the event creation form. So I'll go over a few of the specific fields that you will be entering. So first is the sponsor field, and this is the sponsoring organization. So whichever organization you belong to, if you belong to just one, so for example, Chainbridge Technologies, that you can see here, it will automatically default to that. If you belong to more than one organization, so let's say Chainbridge Technologies and then the local fire department, you will be able to open up the drop-down and select which one you want to sponsor the event. You'll then need to name your event, and the naming convention must be unique. So this just ensures that there are no two events that are the same name and it's not any confusion for people. So we do recommend for you and your organization to set some naming conventions beforehand. That way your responders know what they're looking for and don't spend extensive time trying to find their event. The next required field, and just a note, these required fields are indicated by the red asterisk, and there's a note of that in the top right under the save and cancel buttons. You will need to enter a start date and time for the event. So you can enter or if you know you're going to have a certain exercise in the upcoming weeks, you can set the event start date to be ahead of time. However, no data can be entered prior to the start date and time of the event. We do have some quick access buttons for today and now. So today, if you click that, it will bring you to the very beginning of the day, so 12 a.m. Of the start time. And then if you click now, it will bring you to the exact time of creation. The end date and time is an optional field, so it doesn't have that red asterisk. You don't need to enter this field to save the events, but if you know that you're going to have it open for 5 days, for example, you can choose to enter the end date and the event will then be considered closed after that time. The next one is the hazard types. And so here you will select the hazard types you would like for your event. So whether that's rad, chem, or bio. You can have a multi-hazard event. So if you wanted to respond using both rad and chemical hazard types, you could select both of those. And if you do only have specific hazard types enabled for your organization, but let's say you want to add more, you can always email us at our support email and we can get those enabled for you. The next required field is type. So this is the type of event that you are creating to best represent the incident. So we do have 6 different types for you to choose from: emergency response, exercise, drill, non-emergency operation, routine monitoring, special event, and testing and training. So here you can specify which of those is the event type you're creating. After that, you will need to select the sharing mode of your event. So this determines who's going to have access to the event. So there's 4 different options. My organization only. If you have this selected, that means only the personnel in your organization will be able to access the event. The other one, partners only. If you have standing partnerships set up, they will be added to the event as well. The other 2 options, network wide, this means that it will give all 11,600 plus members of CBRNResponder access to this event. So we typically don't recommend selecting that option unless you want everybody to view all of your event data, but we do have it as an option. And then the final field option is private, and this means only you will have access to the event, and then you can manually add specific personnel or partners explicitly to the event. The next field is not a required field, so again, you don't need to enter this out to save, but it is recommended just for sort of those best practices there. So you can choose the scenario for the event, and there are a few different scenarios for specific hazard types. So if I have a chemical hazard type enabled here, I'll see carbon monoxide, chemical facility, those types of scenarios. But for RAD, you can enable the RDD guidance layer and the NPP layer, and those will unlock specific features on the map for you to use. The next set of event creation fields, we group them all together here just because you can select the specific features that you would like. We do have active, which is the first one, checked off by default, which means that it's a currently active event, which if you're creating it, you would want it to be. And then you can hover over each of those green tooltip icons for more information on the particular feature. I am going to touch on 2 of them. So we do have 2 new fields that were added, and those are all from user feedback. The first one is limit facilities added by default to be within a defined range. So if you have this checked off here, and I'll touch on this on the next slide, but facilities will be added to your event based on the range they fall into. The next one is assessment notifications enabled. So we recently added the ability for assessment notifications to be sent out if a data point is rejected or needs to be reviewed. So you can choose to enable those or not enable them. And then a little more on the facilities one. So you can customize this range. So here, if I check it off, an additional 2 fields will open with a number field where I can enter in the value, and then I can select the unit as well. So here, I want the range to be 25 miles. And what does this mean in terms of my events? All facilities that my organization owns that are within a 25-mile radius of the event's release point, those facilities will be added to my event by default. So this is a great way if you have a ton of facilities, maybe you don't need all of that information, it's just going to sort of cloud the event. You can select the specific range that you would like them to. So again, a really good new feature that we implemented. And then the next step is to actually select the release point. So you can choose to select it from the map, enter the latitude, longitude, address, or select from a facility. And then once you have all that filled out, the final step is to save your changes. So just to quickly show that it's very similar on the mobile application as well. You click the create new event, and then the form is going to be the same. And as a best practice, before you create an event, it is important to make sure that there's not one that's already been created to avoid creating those duplicate events. So both on the mobile app and the website, you can use the event search to look for the events. And maybe you're not seeing it in the mobile app. You can switch between the from my org and shared with me. So maybe one of your partnering organizations created it. You can toggle that on, and the event list will update with the shared with me events. If you don't have time to create an event in an emergency situation, we do have 3 default events that are created for each organization, and those are an emergency response, routine monitoring, and testing/training. So just in the off chance that maybe your event creator doesn't have access to the website or anything, you can always use one of these 3 default events. Now that you have your event created, we'll take a look at the event space. So this is the event dashboard that you'll first be brought to. You'll have access to all different parts of the event from that left side menu. This is where you can collect data, view the map, and make any changes. We do have a few default tiles on the dashboard. These 2 here will show you the event data that's been collected. So I have data for the last 30 days in a graph, and then I have the total data breakdown. And so these will automatically update as new data is coming in. The configuration tab from the left-hand side menu, this is where you'll see a lot of the management of your specific event. So the first one is the details tab. At any point, again, if you have those appropriate roles, you can edit the details from this page. If you have your event set to a certain type, you can then activate it to an emergency. So if you create an emergency response, non-emergency operation, or special event, you can activate it as an emergency. And then here you can also edit and open, close any specific features of the event details. This is a radiological specific item. We do have the sample types that are listed. You can manage the default sample types on your event by clicking that manage button. So if, for example, your organization only collects air and water samples, you may not want all of the other 5 there to show up on the mobile app for data collection. That way it just avoids any confusion on the data collector's end. You can also perform an event merge here. So a use case for this would be if multiple events have been created for the same incident, or for example, you didn't have time to create an event, so you used one of the default events. you can always thereafter merge the data into a different event or to a single location. So this is sort of the backup there if there's multiple events created or something was entered into the incorrect event. Another management feature of the event is adding partners to your event. So on the partners page, you'll see all existing partners, and these can be set up at the standing organization level. So these will be all your default partners. You can also add or manage partnerships here. So if I want to add the 46th Military Police Command, but let's say I don't want them to be a full participant, I can change them to be a view only or view only approved data. So you can customize the partnerships here, and these will only be pertinent to the event level. And again, if you selected partners only, some of your partners may be automatically added. So this event level is just for adding on that ad hoc basis. The responders tab functions similarly to the partners one. So here you'll see all of the existing responders on the event. You can explicitly add specific users or adjust any roles. So if I click Manage Responders, this is where I can add those specific users or adjust roles. We do have that question mark icon on this page for an explanation of the roles. So if I wanted to view what the team manager does, I can open that up and quickly view a description. We also have the ability to view equipment assignments from the equipment dropdown. So here I can assign specific pieces of my organization's equipment to the personnel in my event. That way, when they're collecting data on the app, it will automatically show up for them instead of having to sift through that list and possibly selecting an incorrect piece of equipment. On the teams page, you will see all of the teams that are currently on the event, whether those were added from the standing organization level or if they were just created ad hoc as an event team. You can assign members and equipment, and like I said, copy over standing teams from the organization side as well. This is another dashboard tile that we have. So straight from the dashboard, I can view what teams are on my event, who's in them, their color recognition, and then any equipment or team leader. You can also set up data collection assignments for specific field teams or responders. That way, when they're out in the field, they can get this assignment from their mobile application and they'll be able to complete that specific task. So as long as you have the CBRNResponder mobile application, you'll get that notification right on your device and details about the assignment. This is another tile that's on our dashboard. You can see the ones that are pending, meaning they have not been completed, and then you'll see the completed ones as well. The facilities page will show any critical buildings, locations that you have created, whether at the organization level or ad hoc at the event level. So if on event creation, I chose to add within the 25-mile radius, those facilities will automatically be here without any lift on my end. With the facilities, you can also create sampling locations and floor plans, and you can then collect data on those floor plans and at those sampling locations directly from the mobile application. The set templates is another feature that can be customized at the event level. So you can create ad hoc data collection templates and send those to your responders. That way they know when they're at a specific location, they need to collect a certain amount of data points at this single location. So if I want my responders to collect 2 surveys and then an air sample at a single location, I can create a template for this and they'll be able to use this to collect data. You can customize your threshold sets at the event level as well. So for specific data types, you can determine those specific threshold values, and this will then determine the severity of the data. And on our map, this is the severity is what represents those colored icons. So the very bright neon green is background, and then all the way up to very high with the red. So taking a look here at these survey readings, I can customize them based on unit and set those values for what would represent a low reading versus a background, and then set that for each threshold. And we do have in that image to the right there, that is from the symbology page on the map. So if you're ever unsure what exactly those icons represent, you can always take a look there. And then here on the map, you'll see the data point colors based on their severity level, which is based on those threshold sets. So I can see there's some background readings here, some medium, high, and very high. You can set up custom alerts at the event level as well. And the alerts allow a notification to be sent to specific personnel when a particular data point reaches or exceeds a certain severity level. So if I want to be notified when a field survey reaches a specific value, microrem per hour, I will get the customized notification on my device, and it will let me know that this alert threshold has been reached. We do have an alert history tab on the dashboard as well, so you can see all of the recent alerts that were sent out. A new feature that we do have in the event space is the user preferences page. So this is the last option on the navigation menu. So here you can customize your own preferences when you're viewing the event space. So currently the option we have there is for you to hide severity on the event. And so those are those colored icons that we just went over. And just because you adjust your settings here, this does not mean that it will affect anybody else in the event. So these are customized just to you. It won't affect the person who's viewing the same data next to you. So we do have a note of that here as well. And now getting into the actual data collection part of the event. The data tab is another drop-down where you can select the different data types for you to view, assess, and export, edit any data. If you do have additional hazard types enabled for the event, you'll see the data drop-down, and it will be broken into those specific hazard types. When I'm viewing an actual data page, I will see two important buttons that allow me to customize the data. So filters and then choose visible columns. With the choose visible columns, this allows me to see all of the different column options that I can have. Obviously, there is a lot, and maybe a lot of these don't really pertain to you, or you're not interested in seeing this. You can choose to check off or uncheck these specific options. So if I don't want to see certain fields, I can uncheck them. Similar to the choose visible columns, we do have a lot of filters, and some, again, you may not be interested in, but you can set specific ones to only see specific data. So here I want to see data recorded by Michael Mensah, and I want it between a certain collected date and time, and I want the unit to be in microrem per hour. So I've only set those three filters. And then here I can see my results have updated simultaneously with the collected date and time to fall in that range, the units, and then the user who collected it. So this allows you to break down the data to see exactly what you want to see and not sort of all of the other fields that you may not be interested in. You can also export the data for external use or record keeping. There's two different sort of options here with exporting to Excel and CSV files. So if you choose to export to Excel, which is the all columns export, all of the information will be included in the spreadsheet. So all of those columns that you saw, and it will respect any filters that you do have. On the other hand, if you choose to select the CSV, which is the current visible columns, your spreadsheet will only show the columns that you currently have enabled. So it won't include all those additional ones, and it will respect your filters as well. So just to show what that would look like in the actual export. So here I'm seeing my filters, and I can see that all of the columns, whether I had them selected or not, are going to show up. And then on the other hand, the current visible columns export, only the columns that I have displayed will export. The event map is a really great place for you to actually visually see all parts of your event. So you can see geospatially where things are in relation to your data, to facilities, things along those lines. So to access the map, you'll see that on the left-hand side menu under Dashboard. And on the map, we allow a lot of customization for you to filter your data, enable specific layers, upload files, create user drawings. So the filters and layers tabs on the event map are where you can really customize all of that. And that is a lot of information to go through now. So we do have another special feature webinar that we conducted that actually highlights these specifically. So check that out in our resource library or on YouTube if you're interested in learning more about those. But I will give a quick little overview of them. So in the filters, I can customize similar to how I did on the data tables to show the specific or most relevant information to me. So if I want to only see data for the last 24 hours, I can choose that date range filter. And then I can break this down even further to select the personnel, field team, organization of the data I want to view. We also have advanced filters, and this allows you to show data for specific severities, certain value range, assessment data. So here, some of my advanced filters. So my map, similar to the data tables, will populate to show me those specific results. We also have a quick views tab, and this will give some sort of more popular filters that will apply to the whole map. So some of the ones here show all data for the last hour. I can show only approved surveys. So these are sort of some quick filters that we have enabled for you all to use. And then we do have two ways that you can quickly reset in some terms your map view. So you can show all data. This will turn on everything, all your layers, or you can choose to hide all data and customize this to your default state. We do have some post-event management best practices for you all. So none of this is required, but some things we recommend and we've heard users implement, and it's been helpful to them post-event. So when an event is considered complete, and this means data does not need to be entered into it at this point, you can first download the event summary on the details page. And this will give you in PDF format a summary of the event. So you'll be able to see the different responders, who collected the data, the total number of each data point broken down by their assessment status, so approved, rejected, and pending. You can also close the event, and this doesn't mean that you'll no longer be able to access it at all. You're not deleting anything. It just means that it will no longer appear on the mobile application, so data is not going to be entered into it after that. Again, you can still see it all from the website, and you can always turn it back to open, but this just will take it off the mobile app to avoid any confusion with the responders. And then we do have some other event level reports that you can download in addition to the event summary. So if you want to view the dosimetry report or your field teams, you could download those here as well. We do have an updated creating and managing events job aid that's also in our resource library. So feel free to check that out. It'll have a lot of the information that I just went over. And as always, if you do have any questions at any point, always feel free to email our support email or visit our resource library if you're looking for specific information on a feature.